The Sixers have 5 turnovers, 3 on Joel, 2 on Ben. What is going on? Just stand around, you gotta move! Where's JJ Redick? Where's JJ? Joel Embiid has 8 turnovers already. At least put in TJ, he'll give you some heart. No, Ben. No! I can't handle this! What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Burner Live. I am your host, Chris Deibler. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. On tap for today, we're going to talk some Game 5 reactions. We'll talk about what we liked. We'll talk about what we disliked. We'll talk about what we disliked, and maybe a little more about what we disliked. Again, if you guys like what you see, make sure to hit the like and the subscribe button below. Let's have some fun. Go Sixers. Play that intro.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Wait. No. The wrong music. And go. Everyone gets an F. Everybody gets an F.
We're trading the burner for Anthony Davis.
That's it. All right, we are live. What's up, everyone? With me today is one of my longest friends. His name is Coyle. He is Russer24 on Twitter. What is going on, Coyle? How you feeling? How you hanging in there, buddy?
I don't feel well. I'm sick. I feel like I have a respiratory issue going on.
What have you been
I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to show up today. I'm eating whatever it is. What is he, Chick-fil-A? Is that where he keeps going? Or Shake Shack? Where's he? Milkshakes. I don't know what it is.
Chick-fil-A milkshakes, cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Oh, can you blame him?
Shirley Temples. I don't even know.
All the temples.
I'm just... Right. I don't know if I can go today. We'll see. We'll see how it works.
All right. All right. Good start, Coyle. All right. And our next guest is Ben Dunst. Make sure you give Ben a follow. He can be found on Twitter at BP Dunst. Ben is actually a co-host of our other pod, our Blue Root pod, where we talk everything Delaware Blue Coats, NBA Draft. How you doing, Ben?
I'm great. I'm doing great. I really am. It's a beautiful day. It's fine. Follow the blue, PFL blue, because depending on Game 6 goes, that might be the most important place to be pretty soon. But it doesn't matter. So I'm doing good, Chris. I'm doing good.
All right.
My AC doesn't work, but I'm doing good. So I'm a little warm.
All right.
Get that fan going.
Oh, it's going. Oh, it's going.
First and foremost, let's talk some positives. You know, this is gonna be.
Bryce Harper hit a grand slam.
Bryce Harper hit a grand slam.
Bravo, Coyle. All right.
That's a positive. That's my positive take.
Anything else? Anything else? Give me
Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler is the guy that we wanted Jimmy to be. Playoff Jimmy's real, and he's everything we were hoping he was. Yeah.
That's a positive. Give him all of the money.
And it's not a one-off. He scored 20. Did he get 20 last night? I don't think I even looked at the box score.
To be honest, I didn't. I can tell you right now, I didn't look at anything from that game.
22 points.
22. So that's 4 games in a row of 20 points. Career best for Jimmy, by the way. Like, Jimmy's playoff Jimmy. I understand all the debate that was happening before the playoffs of, like, is Jimmy the guy we wanted him to be? Is playoff Jimmy, is he coasting or is he just past it? Like, he was coasting. He didn't give a shit about the regular season. He's been, Jimmy's the guy we were hoping Jimmy is. The 5th year is its own thing, but with all the other negatives today, I don't think we really need to touch that too much. Playoff Jimmy's the guy we were hoping playoff Jimmy is. That's a positive.
How about off the court? Jimmy Butler sitting down with Joel Embiid during their post game. Like you guys said, this is going to get pretty much doom and gloom as we go forward. But Jimmy Butler, give him all the monies. All the money.
Still team chill. I got it. I'll temper it. I'm still team chill. It's all good.
I thought Tobias also played a somewhat decent game.
Better than game 4.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean that's a still I don't know how I feel about paying him. I loved him in the beginning of the season, and still I'm very concerned about giving him money. So I mean that's something that I want to see him show up Thursday. If we're looking to give him money, he needs to do something. He needs to be what he was in the beginning of the season when we first signed him.
Well, I'll just say as a quick aside, I'm here to like a lot of talking about like, is Tobias a max player, and like do we give him a max contract? And my thinking is that this idea of like what the minimum someone has to be a max player isn't really quite, what needs to be considered. Because like the thing about Tobias is even if he's not like a top 15 player, 20 player, if the going price for him is a max, there's no player that in the league that fits better on the team. And if that's what it takes, if Ben is, I mean, we can assume Ben's going to keep being Ben. He's not going to start taking Dame shots, and that's fine enough. We'll get to that. But like, you need a sharpshooting 4 who can like play a little bit of defense on 3s and 5s. And like, if Tobias does that and he does kind of some of the little things, like if a max is what it costs for me, okay. As long as ownership's willing to actually spend all the money and deal with the luxury tax. I mean, Mirotic, I'm okay with as a backup, but Mirotic is like pretty bad defensively, and I think Tobias has been better than advertised. Would you guys agree with that? Tobias has been better than the reputation for him was.
Only
defensively.
Defensively, he's had some on and off spots so far. But at least I need a little more consistency from Tobias, just a little more. He's the last 2 months of the regular season. The playoffs, it's been pretty brutal. I'm up for the record though. I'm all in on Tobias Harris. Still.
Yeah, I think he makes. I mean, like, yeah, maybe he's not objectively like what you would call a max player, but if the price it takes to get him is a max, and there's no real replacement that fits the team the way that Tobias does, like, we have a point guard who can't shoot, so we can't have bigs who can't shoot. Like, it just kind of works that way. And like, who else is there besides Mirotic, which would be okay, but Mirotic isn't. It's not like he's coming for a vet minimum anyway. So that's my quick thought on Tobias, even with kind of his poor play this postseason. Like, just right on. Even when the shots aren't falling, at least he's the right kind of player that you have to respect his spacing, blah, blah, blah. So at least there's that for Tobias.
How about we get into a quick recap? This is going to be a pretty quick recap of Game 5. So the game kind of started out. Before the game started, we saw Brett Brown say he wants to push the pace. He wants to push the pace. And we saw that from the first jump, from the first quarter. I at least could recognize that the pace was way too slow. The vibe of the game was just not going in the Sixers' favor. Kawhi had 2 steals in the first 2 defensive possessions. Ben had like 2 turnovers and wide open missed layup within the first few minutes.
Joel had concrete shoes, yeah.
Joel had 3 turnovers in the first quarter.
His brain was not with it. I forget who tweeted it. I'm sorry to whoever tweeted it. It might have been Jason, I think, but said that he's never seen a bigger disconnect between Joel's mind and body. Like, that's perfect. He was just trying to do things he normally does and just could not do any of it. It was a mess.
Yeah,
just from the first possession of the game, he was like, his decision making was horrible.
Yeah, you could tell. Like, we had our clips of like fourth quarter Joel right from the jump in the first quarter. Fourth quarter Joel from Game 4. Especially defensively, he just looked lethargic from the jump.
Just looked all over the place.
It was kind of a weird quarter too. Like, they were only down 1 point at the end of the first quarter, but they played like crap. And the general consensus was we're still in it, but we weren't playing.
Something needs to change. Something needs to change. Yeah. To be honest with you, I kind of. And this kind of goes with Ben playing the way that he's playing, which is awful, is I kind of blame it on Brett Brown. And you know that I am the biggest supporter of Brett Brown. But if you're going to play a certain way all season and then all of a sudden give the ball to Jimmy, you got to do something with Ben. I mean, I don't know if they were practicing. I mean, obviously they're the NBA. They'd be practicing probably some plays and stuff like that. But you're totally changing the entire game for him. Taking the ball out of his hands, he doesn't know what to do. He looked lost. Many times you're looking at the screen and you're just watching him stand there like he doesn't know what to do.
That was my
and I blame that. I blame that on Brett Brown. That's one of the things where I'm just like, we either need to coach Ben into play off the ball or how to play off the ball. I mean, he's in the NBA. He should know how to play off the ball, but obviously he doesn't. So we need to do something for that. So I kind of blame that on Brett Brown a little bit.
Yeah, well, game 2 and 3, I thought with Jimmy handled the ball a lot and Ben contributed off the ball. To me, it just seemed for Ben, it just seemed like he's just slipped up. I mean, defensively, the past couple games he's been giving Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi's been getting his anyway, but he's been taking like really tough shots and today or last night I should say, like he just didn't have the effort at the end. Like he was just there was that 1-3 that he had where he wanted James Ennis to switch on it, but in games 2 and 3 and 4 even he was fighting around and getting past to Kawhi because he knew Kawhi was taking it, and that time Ennis didn't switch, and Ben was like, "Why didn't you switch onto him?" But like Ben, it's playoffs and you're playing like a top 5 player. You lock onto him and you can't expect anybody else to pick. Like he just kind of left some slack on the table. I mean, it's a cliche, but I just didn't think he left it all on the floor. I don't really see Brett as at fault there because we've seen him be good or at least, contributing on like boards and starting runouts and stuff. When Jimmy was handling the ball earlier, he just didn't really do it.
I feel like the entire pace of the game was off. Like, yeah, it was a lot slower. Like when you're talking about 2 and 3, they were still pushing the ball. They were grabbing rebounds. And I feel like the other part of that is Joel not being down.
Yeah, I think it comes to Joel's help.
Rebounds.
Yeah, he was not. I mean, rebounding was the big game changer in the first however many games.
Yeah.
Just weren't rebounding with any energy today. Or last night. I keep saying today.
I can't agree with you guys anymore. That Ben was not involved. You saw him just standing around the perimeter. You saw JJ not getting the ball at all. So it was, leading into the second quarter, there was a point where you saw a stat on the TV that the Toronto Raptors backcourt had 16-0 points compared to the Sixers. It was kind of a weird feeling that we got halfway through the second and Kawhi Leonard was 2 for 8 from the field at the time.
Yeah.
And the Sixers were still down 12.
Yeah, he bled and they didn't take advantage.
And to make things matters worse, we got a Greg Monroe 3-pointer that he, of course he airballed it. I was just yelling at the TV. Like, it was just a really murderous second quarter. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they lost quarters 1 and 3 by 1 point each and quarter 2 by 20. That'll do
37-17 Raptors led. Wow.
And you look at our bench. You look at our bench in the first half, and I think I sent a text out last night. I think we had 7 points or 8 points in the first half coming from the bench, which is the absolute opposite of what we've seen all the whole
first
series.
Games or so, yeah.
So that's another, just a terrible showing last night. So
we're sort of touching on the players. So why don't we get going on our player grades and go one by one since we're sort of bleeding through into that a little bit.
All right, no problem.
The story of the game in a sentence is that it was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Let's start with JJ. JJ finished with 3 points, 1 for 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3 in 31 minutes. He was a minus 21 on the court. What were your thoughts? How would you grade? Start us off, Coyle.
They're just what I don't get about. I'm just it's an F. But here's the thing: is what I get really, it's an F. I just because a lot of JJ has to come from other players where you're doing pick and rolls, and they weren't doing it. And you have Joel taking threes from half court, and just when JJ's standing right next to him, pass the ball off on a pick, let JJ shoot. I don't understand what was going on last night. So F.
Yeah, that's really my biggest problem with JJ in this game is 6 shots is it's just straight up not enough. Like that can't happen. If Joel's at like 10% of his usual game, like JJ has to be the vet on the team. He has to take more shots. Like the whole point of him being like a 4th, 5th option of this team is that like when it's necessary, they can feed him the ball over and over because he's a percentage shooter. Like he's going to shoot the percent he shoots pretty consistently. He's not really a guy that goes 1 for 10 and then 7 for 11 in another game. Like he usually gets his 2 for 5, 3 for 6, somewhere around there. They had to keep feeding him the ball and like make him take the thing is like with JJ, right? Like he's the pure shooter. And if you look at these other teams, especially out west, like Eric Gordon will finish a game with 13 3 takes. Like JJ just won't. JJ shoots like 8 threes a game at absolute max. Like in a game like this where Embiid can't go down low, especially when you're down a lot early, like JJ needs to be taking 15 threes. And I know that sounds a little hyperbolic, but again, in the East, it's kind of uncommon except for like Brooke Lopez, which is a whole other thing that's insane. But like people don't take a ton of threes in the East too often. I mean, a couple of guys, but like JJ needs to be that, at least when the other scoring options aren't options. Like, and Ben has Kawhi on him, and we'll get to this, but like, so Ben's not dropping 50, and that's fine. Embiid clearly is like, I don't even have a comparison, but maybe at 5% of his full ability. Like JJ needs to take double digit shots at least 10 shots. Like 6 shots is not okay in a game where no one else can do anything. He has to be the shooter, and like he wasn't screening. You know, one of JJ's like most somehow both overrated and underrated. Everyone talks about how underrated his screening is to the point where it might be overrated. He didn't like set one good screen. Like that's his whole thing. Is he screens really well for Ben, he screens really well for Joe. He didn't do a single thing on it. Like he wasn't getting open because he wasn't like running around and doing his JJ things. Like his motor wasn't there. Like he had a very quietly horrible game, maybe the worst of anybody. 0 points in the first half. It's just not stepping up for the young guys. Just not helping anybody out at all. Really bad.
When he's not making 3-pointers, he's just flat out terrible.
But at least if he's not going to make them, he still has to shoot them.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like I'm okay with if you miss a lot. Like sometimes I miss a lot too, but you got to shoot them because you're only there to shoot.
Shooters got to shoot. Shooters got to shoot.
If you're only there to shoot and you're taking 6 shots in however many minutes, I don't even know how many minutes he played, but like it just can't happen. If you're the only scorer and the team desperately needs pure scorer, I should say, and like you're only there to score and you're not even taking shots, like why are you on the court? Why are you not being benched for James Ennis?
Yep.
All right. F. I also give him an F. I don't know if it's Brett Brown's fault for not getting him more involved in the offense. I really did think that the Sixers got their shots. There were just way too many plays where JJ was standing around the perimeter, not moving off the ball.
Not moving. That's his whole thing. His whole thing is off ball, not good.
Yep.
Bad.
Yep.
F.
All right. Let's Tobias Harris, 15 points, 6 boards, 2 blocks. He shot 6 for 12 from the floor, 1 for 3 from 3. He was a team worst, -24. You want to go first, Ben?
Sure. See, this is a weird one, and this is one of the reasons why I think plus minus for a single game is something you can't really put much stock into. Because like Tobias was not the worst player on the team today, not even close. He was like relatively competent. I thought he played pretty good defense on different guys, even at times. But like you can't really give him a good grade because they lost by 40. So I don't know, like a C, right? That's what I'm thinking. Like a nice even C. Like he passed, but like don't show mom.
Okay,
you know, like right around there. Like it wasn't a great game. Again, 3 threes in a game where we're down pretty quickly and they're piling on points is like, come on, threes are good. It's 2019. Like, we got to shoot more threes. I know they weren't landing, but you have to shoot them. And, like, you're one of the 40% three-point shooters. You have to take that. But he did okay. I thought he started the game pretty well in terms of, like, get in the lane, get on Kyle Lowry, get that little half spin he does, and, like, get the mid-range bucket.
Right on. Coyle, you want to go?
C plus. I give him C plus. Yeah, it's because only reason is he did what I asked him to do. He started driving in the beginning of the game. He was taking that Lowry matchup where he was backing him down.
Yeah.
And he was actually taking threes, like, and just not like he was kind of creating his own shots, which is what I asked for.
Right.
That's what we talked about yesterday. So that's the only reason he got the plus is because he did what I asked for. Yeah.
I'll give him the C plus too. Because Tobias is underrated as just getting some of the dirty work done. He got some rebounds, a couple assists. Like nobody else was rebounding particularly well.
Yeah, he was. He had 5 rebounds within the first quarter.
Yeah, so
I was
C plus for at least picking up some of the other people's slack. I think Tobias is pretty good at actually picking up slack when everyone else slouches off, getting passing the ball well and getting rebounds. So C plus, but don't get too happy about it, Toby.
Yeah.
He had a really strong first quarter. I think he had like 9 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Like he was the biggest reason why it was only a 1-point game in that first quarter. He had, like you said, Coyle, he had several times when he was able to kind of ISO and get his own shot. it kind of went downhill because he only had like a few points the rest of the game. I give him right around a C. A C sounds good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It just feels wrong to give anybody a passing grade in a 40-point loss in the playoffs, but a C.
All right, let's move on to Ben Simmons. All right, so 7 points, 7 boards, shot 3 for 5 from the field. He only had 1 free throw attempt, and I was on an N1, which I think was in the first or second quarter. So
yeah,
that was it. It was a straight line drive to the basket. I kept yelling at the TV like, Ben, do that every time. Like, just take it. And he was passive. He had
and one of those misses was a flip-up layup that he easily. Oh my God, he could have just went right up with it. He was. Oh my gosh, that drives me insane.
What do you get?
Just dunk it. It's so much fun. Like,
what do you get when on your report card when you don't show up to school?
Incomplete. Right? Truancy notice.
Yeah.
Get a letter.
Yeah. Is that like? Did you get a letter to your parents saying Ben has missed school because he missed this game last night?
Yeah.
He didn't even show up. He gets a whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Ben. Really bad, like horrible.
Didn't even show up.
I will say what I was kind of started to say earlier, but I wanted to save it is like, I do think expecting him to do a lot on offense is unreasonable. He shouldn't be doing anything on the ball. He has the best perimeter defender in the league, in my opinion, on him. Like, putting the ball in his hands is like, you're getting a missed shot or a turnover unless he's already downhill going at the basket and Kawhi isn't right in front of him. Because, like, Kawhi's too good. Like, Kawhi is incredible. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter, this is the worst take I saw so far, well, before the game, was like I saw a lot of people saying that you need to put the ball in Ben's hands and go straight at Kawhi and try to get him in foul trouble. Kawhi has more career steals than fouls by like 250 or something. That could be wrong. I checked that. That was the last time I looked. It was like a year ago. But he still has more steals than fouls. Like, you're not putting him in foul trouble. It doesn't exist. Kawhi, like, it doesn't happen. So keeping the ball out of Ben's hands is like smart and the right thing to do, and changing that just for the sake of changing something would only make things worse. So in that aspect, fine, but he needs to be hitting the boards. Like, he needs to be getting the offensive boards and crashing in and getting putbacks and making plays and doing fucking something. I don't know.
Ben, whoa, watch the language, Ben.
I don't know what language you're talking about.
All right, so Ben had the most mind-numbing moment of the game. It was in the third quarter. I believe the Sixers were down 20 to start the third quarter, and we started on a 10-2 run. And Ben Simmons had a fast break and just lost the ball.
He ran up, got right past the free throw line, stopped and turned around and got it stolen. Yeah,
and
which we've seen a million times.
You saw Brett Brown with the highlight of the day going, "Why? Why?"
He got it down. The lead was down to 13. He had trailers coming for a 3. All he had to do was slow it down a little bit and give it to JJ, and JJ turned it over on the next possession, to be fair, to put it from 13 back to 18. So that's fine too. But if they hit a 3 there, it's a 10-point game. And like, but getting that, Danny Green, I think it was the same play. Danny Green got an open 3 from like the corner, I think. And like, Danny Green open from the corner is like, what do you
that was all game. That was all game.
It's game. I mean, but that right there was game. Like, taking it to 13 could have been at least 11, and then down 16 again, and Danny Green, because it's hard to turn it on again when you turned it off, and when you go into the third quarter up 21, it's pretty easy to turn it off. But Danny Green just hitting a 3. It's like, all right, well, he's good for the rest of the game now.
Right on.
It lost it right there. It was our only shot to come back and threw it away.
What else can you say? He had more turnovers than assists last night.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
F.
It wasn't F. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
F.
Love you, Ben. Don't talk about trading the guy like an idiot. But
no, we just had a bad game.
My God.
Just one game F.
But F.
Should we talk about that now? Should we talk about now how bad?
Let's do that whole thing after we do the player grades, because that's going to take some. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. All right, let's go on
a couple minutes.
Let's go on to James Butler, the only adult on the court last night.
Hey.
22 points, 7 assists, 6 for 16 from the field, 10-11 from the free throw line. He was a -17. To me, he was a solid B+. I mean, he didn't have his best game, but he was far and away the best Sixer on the court. Coyle, do you want to go first?
A. He gets an A for me. He was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. He was rebounding. He was defending. He was scoring. He was actually trying. He actually looked like he wanted to be there, unlike everyone else on the team other than Tobias.
Did well when he was switched on to Kawhi. Yep. Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, 6 for 16
he had
is like
a great game.
6 for 16 isn't career shooting, but like it's not that bad. You know, like
especially when you're the only one shooting.
Right, when you're a good player, and also considering he had 12 free throws, like good, decent enough shooting, not elite, but good enough that should be enough. He, did everything else good. Seven rebounds. Like
we talked a lot about this on yesterday's pod, the Game 5 preview pod, and like off the court, Jimmy Butler has blown our minds so far this playoff series.
Great teammate Jimmy Butler.
If there's any we can't thank you enough, Jimmy. If there's anything to look forward to, at least if the Sixers don't win this series, it's Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid's chemistry for next year. That is something we definitely have going for ourselves. That has really kind of blossomed as the playoffs kind of progressed. So,
I think even further, once the season ends, like assuming everyone gets re-signed, like Jimmy, I think is the kind of guy that'll galvanize the locker room. They won't get discouraged or out of it, or he'll get them right back in the workouts. I mean, obviously they'll take vacation, but right back in the workouts, ready to get at it for the next year.
I don't think Jimmy Butler takes vacation.
Jimmy doesn't.
He doesn't.
I think Ben will be in LA, and Joel will probably go home, and they'll all do their thing.
He's the type that drives his van to like Idaho for vacation, and in the middle of nowhere,
just to work out. He's like, "Oh, there's this gym I went to
in Texas. I think it was Houston." Of just the house with no Wi-Fi or TV, just him and his friends and all of his friends. When he goes to work out, they either have to work out or read a book.
Country.
I think he's going to do that. Yeah. I hope Joel goes with him, frankly, with a full.
Yeah, I hope the whole team goes with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope the whole team. He just says, "Hey guys, we're going down here. No Wi-Fi, no girlfriends, no nothing. We're gonna play some basketball this summer."
Oh my gosh! Wait, real quick, before we get to the radio things, that reminds me of the worst sports radio call suggestion I've ever heard. And this is good. This is really good. So I forget if it was WIP or the Fanatic. I just put whichever one isn't on commercial sometimes when I'm on my way to work. And so this dude calls, normal call. He's complaining about the game. Everything was pretty normal. And then he gets to the end and he's like, "I have a theory about Joel." And they were like, it was 97.5 because it was Tyrone Johnson and Mikey Miss. And they were like, okay. And he was like, Joel, basically he said that Joel isn't feeling good because Anna DePaula is about to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So he's jealous that his girlfriend's going to be in the Sports Illustrated. I don't know who called that. And if you watch it, I can't. It was the worst. It was the worst. I mean, even, Mikey Miss, God bless him. Like,
don't apologize.
He can tolerate some bad calls on there sometimes and be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And you're like, no, it doesn't make sense to anybody in the world. That one, he was like, no. He said no, and he hung up on the dude. Like, it was bad. That was the worst call I've ever heard in my life. Like, Joel didn't start dating like a supermodel knowing that like she might be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like, she's a Sports Illustrated model. What do you think her job description? The worst call I've ever heard. I was dying in my car. I was like, there's no way someone can think that's true.
The takes have been flying today.
They're like, you think he's sick because his girlfriend's on a magazine cover? And it was like, it makes sense. I was like, no, it does not make sense.
No, it does not. No, it does not.
His flu-like symptoms? No. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a long... That was when I turned on sports radio and I haven't turned it on since. Oh my God. The worst take I've ever heard in my life. Honestly, congratulations to whoever that caller was, because that is an impressively horrible take.
Terrible
take. Horrible. Oh my God! All right, who's next on the list?
Nice segue. Let's talk about Joel Embiid.
Joel,
right.
Segue.
I mean,
all right, 13 points, 6 boards. He shot 5 for 10 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. But any conversation begins and ends with Joel Embiid with 8 turnovers. Watching Joel labor through the first 5 minutes of Game 4 was like the worst. Who knew that it could even get worse? It was just an entire different level of terrible. Joel was clearly sick, clearly lethargic, clearly not himself on the court. I give Joel Embiid a D for being out there on the court and doing what he can. But let's make this clear. It is so frustrating when your entire season is riding on an upper respiratory infection. It is insane to me how a multi-billion-dollar athlete, it's on brand, and the biggest stretch of games in your life, and you are fighting a virus. Go ahead, Coyle.
Fail. He gets an F2. No. If you're going to play like that, don't show up. I wish they would have sat him and let him get healthy. There was no point in him playing last night. He did absolutely nothing. We got no defense from him. He was turning the ball over. He couldn't dribble. I've never seen him do this, but he's taking the ball. He was getting rebounds, and he was bringing it to the floor and just holding it there, wanting people to take the ball. And I
think for me, I'm gonna cut him a D-. Does a D- exist? Can you get a D-?
You can get a D-. It's right before
experience.
Yeah, I've gotten many D-s in my life.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a D- because at least some of it isn't really his fault that he's really sick. And like, I have a horrible immune system. I get sick all the time. I get it. Sometimes you just really need to not get sick, and you really just got sick. But the thing that really makes it horrible and painful and awful for me is that, like, he has to know as well as anyone that he's, like, the worst version of himself that he's ever been right now, that he's, like, can't do any of the things he normally does. So why is he trying to do all of the, like, most complicated things he can do all the time? Same with – and this is what I said after the fourth quarter in Game 4, is that he, like, down the stretch there, he was trying to do Joel Embiid things, and he just was not Joel Embiid. Like, he needs to recognize that he's not Joel Embiid right now.
Yep.
And, like, he keeps trying to do Joel things, and in that game, he took every shot down the stretch or turned it over down the stretch or just dumped it off after he was triple teamed and whoever was there with a cold hand didn't hit it. And Jimmy didn't even shoot. Like, he needs to – if this is going to be the Joel, he needs to just be a screener and, like, just give the ball to Jimmy and screen for JJ just back and forth and just try to get something to happen. You can't go in an ISO. You can't try to run the offense like you're a point guard. Like, when you're healthy, it's one thing, but, like, he's just such a shell of himself right now that just it's just a whole entirely different, like, hoping to get a shot in the G League player that looks like Joel Embiid that get better. I guess, like, just I don't know what else to say other than, like, it'll be there when he's healthy. We know that he'll be really good when he's healthy if he gets healthy in time. But, like, right now, that's not you. You cannot make those decisions. Like, you have to alter your decision-making process, and he hasn't done any of it.
And I feel like it took him out of the defensive side. That we didn't – like, I feel like he was trying to do too much on offense, that it took him out of the defense. We needed him on the defensive side. Right. That's where we needed him.
You're tiring yourself out trying to do everything on offense. It's not working, so you're not getting any – like, just screen on offense, conserve your energy, get back as soon as you can, and just try to protect the rim. Just try to protect the rim. If you give up some defensive 5 seconds, then so be it. But, like, just try to do the one thing that we saw last game you can do while you're really sick, which is just get a hand close to the rim and pin a layup. Like, that's just trying to do too much. And I understand that in his head he's like, I'm the guy. This is my team. I have to step up. But it's just not true. Like, that's just not the case. I understand that he probably feels like that and it really looks like that, but it's just not the case. There are other guys that can step up, and A, he didn't give him a chance, and B, they didn't when they were called on. So it's hard to say whose fault it really is, but yeah, Joel really bad. Hopefully he's healthy. If he's healthy, I like our shots. I mean, obviously down 3-2 going without home court is you don't like our shots too much, but at least there is a shot if he's better. If he's still just as sick, Game 6, it's over.
There was a moment in the third quarter when the Ben and Joel had 8 made field goals compared to 12 turnovers by the end of the third quarter. There was a period where I was just yelling at the TV, just take him out. Just let him sit. Just it's fine. Or put him on Kawhi. Just have him play real tight man defense. I mean, what else? Yeah. I mean, and it's. I mean, I think part of the overreaction is, like, just to Joel and, like, why is he sick all the time? How come he's never available? But, like, if you're like, he's never available, sometimes his back is broken and sometimes he's sick. Like, you can't put those things together. Like, the man got sick. It could happen to anybody. Kawhi could be puking his brains out in his hotel right now, and the Raptors would be losing, and people would be freaking out. James Harden could be like, it could happen to anybody.
Kawhi would still shoot 90%, though. Because it's Kawhi. He'd shoot 90%.
And MJ ruined it because the whole flu game nonsense mythology has ruined it. Where it's like, well, you should be able to play when you're sick. No, you should be able to play when you're hungover, not when you're sick. Like, let's keep it a buck with that one. Like,
did you guys see what Shaq said about Joel Embiid
at
halftime?
Yeah, he missed a lot of games with that big toe injury, so I don't really know what he's talking about there. You remember that?
Yeah,
Shaq missed a lot of games with a big toe soreness. Like, come on, get out of here. And he's like, it's annoying because they want to link like the eating habits to being sick. Like Shaq, buddy, inside the NBA has problems with Joel's eating habits. Like, no disrespect to them, but Charles Barkley and Shaq are like the examples of like how horrible diet, not taking care of your body.
You can do whatever you want.
Like, Barkley got fat to kill his draft stock. Like, I don't really want your advice on this. Like, Shaq could have played 15 years in the NBA, but instead he just wanted to eat and eat and eat to get bigger so he could post people up, and his career ended a decade early. Like, that's all I'm saying. I literally have a shirt from them.
I literally have a shirt of Charles Barkley holding French fries and a hamburger. It says "Mound round to rebound." So don't tell me that there's an actual shirt.
He's so hypocritical. Like, he missed all these games. He missed playoff games with like these random like small pain injury, pain tolerance injuries. He's gonna complain that this dude's playing. He hasn't eaten in 6 weeks. He hasn't slept since 2002. He's been on an IV since the day he was born. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, he tried. It didn't work, but he tried. If he sat out, he would be getting – Shaq would be saying the exact same thing. He'd be saying that he's not a leader because he's sitting out instead of playing for his team. What do you – like?
You're right. It's exactly right.
And I mean, with Shaq, it's all kind of a waste of time because it's just his whole, like, big man.
Yeah.
Big man sensitivity thing, you know, how he is with Dwight. He was with Dwight, and how he is with Embiid. It's just how he always will be. Like, he can't handle big men being gay. I still love Shaq, though.
Shaq's the man. All right, so what is your confidence level heading into Game 6? We did this yesterday, like 0 being scared shitless, 10 being you're uber confident. Like, where are you on that scale for winning Game 6?
I'm from 50% down to now 35, 40%. I mean, that's if Embiid. That's it all.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's really the question, right? If Embiid can breathe, like, honestly, I think I hate to even say it out loud. I think if Embiid can breathe, I think they probably win because I doubt they go. I think they just have the personalities to not go out like that, and all you need is Jimmy and Joe. Really, you just need Jimmy and Joe. And if he's sick like this, it's nothing because JJ's success is 100% tied to Joel's success. If Joel's playing well, JJ can play well. If Joel is useless, then JJ's useless. Tobias doesn't get enough touches to like really take over in this offense because he only shoots so many times a quarter. He's out of rhythm all the time. Like, it's all Joel. Especially because if you notice the defensive scheme they threw at him, like they knew he was sick, so he literally was getting quadruple teamed. They were just throwing everyone at him because they knew he didn't have the presence of mind to make the pass quick enough, and he was going to dribble into them. So they just collapsed 3 or 4 guys on him. Like, if Joel's that, then no, it doesn't matter, 0%. But if Joel is the Game 3 Joel, 40%, still wouldn't feel great about it, but because I have a feeling that closeout Kawhi is probably better than like a game. Like, what I mean, the question is, and this is a question I actually want to ask you guys. Is the games 1 through 4 Kawhi just who Kawhi is, or is it a little bit better and maybe we can expect him to, hope he can be a little bit worse like he was in Game 5? Like, because Game 1 through 4 was historic efficiency, and he already is the most efficient playoff player in history. Is that even a little bit more than he can sustain for a full series? Is there a shot that he slows down, or were we expecting to get another 40 points on like 2 shots?
No, you're going to see him slow down. His legs are done. You can already tell, like, even last night, you were saying, like, his shot wasn't there, and it was just a little bit off. And I think that's all because of Ben.
Absolutely.
I think that he's just been running and running. So you're not going to see that effectiveness. You're going to see him start to miss some shots. I mean, he's still going to be quiet, and he's still going to put up points.
And he's still going to lock somebody down.
Correct. But you're not going to see him shooting, 50% from everywhere.
So let me ask you, if it goes to Game 7, so that's our confidence for Game 6. If it goes to a Game 7, what's your confidence like? Because for me, the important factors in that are Siakam and Embiid are probably both at 100, right? Siakam looked a little bit better yesterday, but he still was moving. Like, he still wasn't really moving off the ball. He was much better on the ball as compared to Game 4. We're going to 6. Game 4, he was obviously horrible. And then Game 5, he was moving a little better, but, like, off the ball, he wasn't doing his usual things, like spacing and moving defenders around. Like, he was pretty much camping and then taking it once he gets it. Mm-hmm. In a Game 7, Joel and Pascal are probably 100, but then you have to consider, like, Marc Gasol at 34 playing in a Game 7 and Kawhi with the chronic injury going absolutely ham, carrying the entire team.
With dead legs.
With hopefully dead legs. It's hard to say because they might just plug him in for the night. I have no idea. Like, it's insane. But if the fatigue is setting in, it's probably setting in mostly, the most impacted players would be Kawhi because he had to completely be the entire team for 4 straight games. Mm-hmm. And Marc Gasol because he's, old, banging with a huge, huge center on knees that have been hurt, and he's just old, So what do you think? If it goes to a Game 7, it is in Toronto. What do you think the shots are?
I think go ahead, Cole.
The worst thing would happen last night is what happened last night where they beat us by so much because you got to rest Kawhi. That's the worst thing that could have happened. So you may not see as much of dead leg Kawhi as that we were hoping for.
They did play some starters for like the first half of the fourth quarter, though. They played a lot of starters because they just have no bench at all. And it wasn't until the second half of the fourth they put in Jeremy Lin.
But you weren't seeing Ben holding him like they weren't playing that type of defense where he had to run around, he had to create his own shot. It was played off defense. No one was really playing by that time.
Yeah.
So, but it comes down to if Joel is healthy, we have a better team. I honestly feel we have a better team if Joel is healthy. And it comes down to that right there. You shut down Kawhi, you let him get whatever he can get.
70
and we
maybe,
win.
Who knows?
Yeah, we win. Yeah. If Game 7 Kawhi may get 70 points.
So. He might get 70 points and the Raptors score 105.
Yeah.
But so what, like 0 to 10. What do you think? Game 7 in Toronto, if Joel is no longer sick and Pascal's no longer sore.
I'm going to say
6.75. 6.75.
Wow.
I mean, it's all about trust the antibiotics right now. So it's if it's a Game 7, which is what, Sunday, so that's a good few days from now. So I'm going to go a good 7. I'm still confident that the Sixers are a much better team than the Raptors if Joel is playing like.
If we make it to Game 7, of course.
Correct.
Wow, you guys are more confident than me. I think the home court's still a pretty big deal. It's tough. It's really tough. It's really a shame that they're playing Toronto, who's the furthest away. I mean, maybe Milwaukee is, but like if it was Boston, like the trip is so much shorter and you have to fly so much less, and poor Joel cannot be doing better in the air every other day. I don't know. I'm honestly, not just saying it, but I honestly think it's right about a 5. I think it's pretty much, if it goes to Game 7, it's 50-50. Because if Embiid's coming back after not really working insanely hard in the past 2 games, with all of this, we'll call it slander on him from these games, like and coming out with something to prove, that could be really hard to stop. But Kawhi could be really, I haven't seen a Game 7 Kawhi in a while.
It also depends on what tomorrow's game shows us.
Right.
If we come out and we blow them out of the water, then I'm like, oh, we're good.
And if we lose, we don't have to worry about it.
I don't believe that at all. I actually disagree with that. I think the entire series has been one or the other. And if
2 close games, 2 blowouts, 2 close games, yeah.
I don't trust anything that happens. I don't think anything that happens Game 6 has any impact on Game 7.
I believe that too. I think any Game 7 in any series between any 2 teams, assuming nobody's hurt, is like it's its own game. It's just 48 minutes and whatever happens. This sounds so cliche.
I'm more worried about Game 6.
Well, it's a cliche for a reason,
right? I mean, and this is of course, like Chris has said, you got to get through Game 6 first. Like, got to survive, got to win at home. Hopefully, the crowd isn't too bad. Hopefully, they come out and it's actual support and trying to get the game through. But I think if they get to Game 7, they have a very real shot. Because I think they have – I think the biggest factor is that in a Game 7, the difference really comes down to who can, like, step up and play a Game 7 game. And the Sixers players, just their best versions of themselves are so much better than their normal. Like, Tobias having a great game is, like, really good. JJ having a great – as opposed to, like, Kyle Lowry's great game nowadays isn't – it might be – 22 and 12. Like it's not anything crazy anymore. Like there's just only so well their players can play because like Danny Green is pretty much limited to, he pretty much takes his catch and shoot threes because he's not really posting up in this series because they don't have the space for it. Like I just think the very best version of both teams, the Sixers, just has a higher ceiling, so that's possible. And I think the locker room personality is one that would play up to a Game 7 and not down from the moment, but I would say 50. I honestly, if it goes to a Game 7, I'll be going in there with absolutely no prediction.
I'm already stressed out about the idea of 20 seconds left. Kawhi Leonard has the ball in his hands in a Game 7, and he hasn't missed.
He's not going to miss that. He's not going to miss that.
He won't. All
right,
you just have to get him to score quick enough that Jimmy can take it the other way and do some Jimmy style real quick. Yeah, do some Jimmy thanks.
That was something that was really frustrating about Game 6 was the pace. We mentioned it before, but it was so frustrating to see the Raptors completely destroy us, and push the tempo and just took everything that works for us and just throw it in our face. And that was
horrible.
Really,
that was just horrible. I think I'm done. I think I'm tapped out on Game 5 talk. It took like 10 years off my life. That was horrible.
It was really tough. Let's talk Game 6. So what are your predictions? Like, what is your vibe? Coyle, you want to go?
Jimmy Butler goes off. Tobias Harris goes off. Ben Simmons goes off. TJ McConnell comes in, and he goes off.
Barrett Smith scores 73.
TJ dropping 30.
Haywood Highsmith gets signed to a professional contract during the third quarter.
He comes in the fourth, he's dunking on people. That's what's going to happen.
It's bad during Game 6 when it's the third quarter and you're like, put in TJ.
Put in TJ.
Man, he looked horrible during the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So I know we didn't really want to talk about TJ too much, but when he came in garbage time, I knew that people were going to be like, see, this is why we got to play TJ. And he was so playing against the Raptors bench. He was like guarding and getting guarded by Jeremy Lin the year of our Lord 2019 and was horrible. Couldn't score on Jeremy Lin. So I hopefully that'll keep everyone from being the bench Ben for TJ again. Bench Ben for TJ again. All right. Well, no. Horrible.
Nope.
What was the question?
Game prediction. Game 6.
Game prediction? I think they win, but I don't know. It really depends on Joe, 100%. I mean, maybe nobody's really been scoring like crazy, which is a shame because I do think, as a quick aside, that's the way the Sixers can beat the Raptors. Is the highest end of the Sixers scoring is way better. They can drop 130. I don't think the Raptors can without Kawhi scoring 50. But they've been losing 105 to 98. So I'm hoping it's 111, 103. Even if the defense slips a little bit, just get 12 points from JJ and 20 from one of Joel or Tobias and figure out the rest.
Yeah, give me right around 20. Give me right around 20 points from our bench. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Maybe
that's all I need.
9 for Mike Scott and 7 for James Ennis, even 10 and 6, and maybe 5 from Greg Monroe, and we're happy.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I need.
Yeah, I would 111, 103. I'll say Sixers win, but we never really feel great about it.
I'll tell you one thing.
Hopefully it's back.
I'll tell you one thing is you will know within the first 6 minutes of the first quarter.
Oh, yes.
You will
know if we're going to win or lose.
Know if you're going to win.
Yep. The second Joel touches the ball, we'll know what's going on. Because the first thing he's going to do is try something crazy. And if it's a pump fake Euro step slam, you're like, okay, so we can move a little bit.
There we go. We're good.
He dribbles at
Let's go.
He dribbles at the speed of he's just been so slow, and his hands have been so slow. If it's that again, then we'll be like, okay, so Joel can't play basketball right now, so we lose. And it was a fun season.
Are we going to get the airplane Game 6?
Oh, I hope.
So we got a Game 5. I hate to say. Someone's doing it. It might not be a Sixer.
All right.
But someone's doing it. The only other thing is if Kevin Hart is on the premises, I'm going to have an aneurysm.
Oh, my God. That can't happen.
Get his ass out
that can't happen. Nope.
No. Oh, my God. I saw every time he starts tweeting him.
Yes.
Kevin, shut up.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
The Boston's done, huh? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
One positive. There's a positive, yeah.
I will say, so I just want to remind of, like, before this series, when we were talking about, like, Brett and all those things, there was, like, and Brian tweeted from, a team source that he talked to. It was basically, like, if they get swept or out in 5, blah, 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 Brett will be gone. We were hoping for a hard-fought series. Losing in 6 with Joel, like, dead is
great.
Good. It's good. It's good. And for me, I'm curious to see what you guys think. For me, that's enough to bring the band back together. Hopefully you replace JJ with Danny Green. But, yeah, for me, that's more than enough to bring back Tobias and Jimmy. And just do the same core again, do the same thing. I think that Boston and Toronto will be much worse next year. Obviously, Kawhi
they won't have Kawhi.
Right. They won't have Kawhi, and there's no one on the open market that's going to come to Toronto that's going to have close to the same impact. And I think Kyrie's pretty much out of there, and
I hope so.
Trade everybody for Anthony Davis and just literally recreate the New Orleans Pelicans. Like I don't think there's much of a plan there. So I think Boston will fall off. I mean, I think they'll be okay, but they'll probably be a 4 or 5. The Pacers will be good again, but I don't think they'll jump up from much more than like the 4 seed they should have been this year, the 3-4 seed. So I think there's a very real chance at being the 2 seed next year, which is a much different experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. And here's the thing: is even if we do some work on our bench and get our bench, that's
and I don't think it needs much. I don't think it needs much. I think it pretty much needs a competent backup point guard and a competent backup center because I think Mike Scott and James Ennis are perfectly fine. I don't have any problems with bringing back Mike Scott and James Ennis at all.
I would love to get a 6-man. Like I would love to get a solid 6-man that you're going to be able to just
realistically, yeah. I mean, 2 more guys would bring us to like a really solid 9-man rotation. I don't know who's going to be. I haven't really looked too much into the free agents beside the big name ones. Danny Green is the one I'm most interested in, which is
a lot of talk about Danny Green lately. Yep.
Well, the problem is he's pretty much going to have his choice, right? I mean, he's basically budget Clay right now, and I mean, I don't know who wouldn't want to give that. It's a perfect complementary piece, but he would fit the team really well. We would have 2, 3 like elite perimeter defenders and an elite rim protector. And
don't forget Zaire.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. Like we have some stuff in the chamber that could be, Zaire could end up being a useful player. We have all these picks. I think they might trade up with some of them because we just don't have enough roster spaces for all of them. And hopefully they learned their lesson about selling seconds. But like if you pick, a Cam Johnson.
Why not?
There could be your 6-man depending on how the season goes. And I think we've seen enough last year to trust the scouting department a little bit because, like, obviously Landry ended up being the best non-star rookie in the league, like by far.
Correct.
Like, really, except for maybe Mitchell Robinson. Actually, Mitchell Robinson I wouldn't call a star rookie, but has been really good. But like one of those players who's like they've picked out a guy in the right circumstance who is valuable, even if not someone that we're going to play in the playoffs. Like. I'm okay with something like that again, too. Get somebody in the end of the first round, beginning of the second. Expect them to pan out, get the actual development to work, play them good minutes, let them showcase, and then turn that into a 6-man. Like, yeah. If Mike Scott and James Ennis are the 7th and 8th guys, like, that's a playoff roster that can actually play.
I mean, and when we come home with the first pick, I mean, it's
absolutely. Zion Williamson's going to be great on this team.
He's gonna.
I said every time I've asked someone of these pods, like, if we get Zion Williamson, we absolutely should trade him, and I will pray that we don't trade him.
No.
Yes, we should trade him, and I do not want us to trade him. I would much rather be worse and have Zion on this team. It would just be absolutely ridiculous.
I ran a poll on Twitter, and I got like 100+ votes, and it was all draft Zion. So.
Oh really? Oh no, maybe I'm actually in the worst, the bad majority. No, I think the correct thing to do would obviously be to trade him and try to get like Drew. That would be perfect. If you get Zion, turn it into Drew Holiday, and then the lineups. I mean, however you make the contracts work, I don't know. That's for Elton Brand. That's not my problem. But then you have like the lineup of like Drew, Ben, Bias, Jimmy, Embiid. Come on, that would be a legit stuff.
So.
But I mean, we're gonna get it anyway, so we'll deal with it when the time comes.
Exactly.
Next Tuesday.
Lottery party is next Tuesday.
Yep.
Quill and I will be there.
Oh, so I'll see you guys there.
Nice,
yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so I don't know what time we're getting there. Quill probably tailgating or something.
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm going to figure it out on Monday.
All right. Let's wrap it up. You are listening to The Burn Alive, our Game 5 recap. Make sure you give a follow to Coyle. You can be found on Twitter at Ruzzer24. And make sure you give Ben Dunst a follow on Twitter at BP Dunst. This is The Burn Alive. Go Sixers.